guys, my name is Bree, and today I'm going to be doing a book review, stating my thoughts and opinions over the book. Y'all know me, I can't catch books. The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. So real quick, I'm going to do a little non-spoilery section, just give you like the 411 on what the book's about, but then I'm going to advise all of my viewers that are anticipating reading this book or have not yet read this book to just kind of, you know, skedaddle out of the video, just click that big X in the corner and then come back once you've read it, because we are going to discuss this book. We're going to discuss it hardcore and it's going to be great. It's gonna be great. So The Darkest Minds is about a disease called IAN, I-A-A-N, which stands for Idiopathic Adolescent Acute Neurodegeneration, which is a mouthful. I'm glad they gave it an acronym. But basically this disease follows and infects kids from the ages of like 9 and 10 to 14. All of the kids in America that have been affected by this disease, or at least 90% of them, have died. However, there is a small percentage of these children that have been affected that actually survived this disease, which is very, very rare, which leads to the plot in the book. The plot in this book is about those kids that have survived the disease, and they come back with these powers that no one's heard of or seen before. And these powers consist of basically your Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and each color category is a different power. For example, if you're a red, you have the power to manipulate fire. If you're an orange, you have the power to manipulate others' thoughts and make them do what you want them to do, which I think is super freaking cool, but we'll get into that in a minute. You have your blues, and if you're a blue, you can use your mind to move things, so you have telekinesis basically. Not telekinesis, molecular kinesis. One of the kinesises, it's okay. If you're a yellow, you have the power to conduct electricity, which is also super cool, and as I say that, I just saw a bolt of lightning strike outside my room, so that's super ironic. And then lastly, the color you have your greens. Now, greens kind of disappoint me because, I mean, they're cool for themselves. I mean, like, they're super good with technology, they're good at math and science, which is something I am not good at all, which clearly means that I would not be a green, but I'm not really understanding how, you know, being a green is like having your own power. I mean, if there was a way you could like see numbers or something, there's a little bit of implication of like greens in this book, but not a lot. In The Darkest Minds, we follow a girl named Ruby who, in the very first couple of chapters, starts off as 10 years old, and she's telling her story about how she was captured by PSFs, or basically these agents of the government who are trying to collect all of these kids that have survived the disease and ship them off into these concentration camps. Well, everyone, like all of the parents and stuff, are being assured, oh no, these concentration camps are a good thing, we're gonna help your kid get better. But then what happens, like everyone is freaking out because, you know, these kids are being like, you know, put to work and they're being treated poorly, like bad food, bad living habits, like these camps like suck. It's like, it's nothing I've ever heard of. This is terrible. And they're like 10. These camps are horrible. Like, the President Gray, who's like making all the PSFs come and take all these kids, that's a horrible man. So back to the book. The PSFs are coming and they're like taking all of these kids and moving them to these concentration camps, and Ruby ends up going to a camp called Thurmond. Thurmond? I'm gonna go with Thurmond because that's how I've been reading it. And she basically spends 6 years of her life in Thurmond, in this camp, really just kind of afraid and scared, just trying to get her life together. I mean, what life does she really have? I mean, she's in a camp for 6 years, but you know what I mean. So when Ruby gets to Thurmond, she's sent to this room where she's tested for what color she is. And the professor that is testing her is trying all these different tests on her, and she's like freaking out. She's like, whoa, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? No, like, no. And then, or at least that's how I imagine her, except maybe a little less frantic and more like, So once the tests are all done, she goes to her camp and whatever, and then 6 years later, like 6 whole years later, is where the next chapter starts. And basically what happens is she is broken out of Thurmond, and she's escaped, right? And she finds these other people who have also escaped from their rehabilitation camps. And basically what she has to do is find the safe haven, which is called East River, I believe. Yeah, East River. And they have to go and find out what's wrong with them and how they can fix America, like how they can fix their government and how to make things right again. So that's all I have for the non-spoilery section. I know that isn't a lot to go on, but trust me, this book is amazing. I loved it. I mean, it was a little slow to get into at first. I mean, it took me a good like 75, 100 pages to get through, but I'm glad I pushed through those pages because this book was so good. I think I remember finishing it at like, it's closer to like 1, 2 in the morning, and I finished this book and I ran all the way downstairs and I saw my stepdad on the couch. I was like, oh my gosh, like that was amazing. Why did that happen? Like I was just ranting, and he had no idea what I was talking about, so I'm sure he thought I was a little crazy, but that's cool. Like I don't even mind. He just listened to me talk and that was great. So again, if you don't want to be spoiled and you haven't read the book yet, I highly recommend you reading the book, but the spoilery section is coming, so I advise all of you people who do not want to be spoiled to just skedaddle along. Just go read the book, because this book is amazing and we're about to talk about it. Just go get the book, go read it, and then come back whenever you're done, alright? Bye-bye, non-spoilery people! And we're back! Okay, it's review time. This book, there were so many feels that I had during this book. I was so angry at one point, actually at multiple points during the book. I was furious. And then other parts, like I wanted to cry. I almost cried. I have yet to cry in a book. And it's strange because this book I almost actually cried in, and I've like never cried in a book that I read before. So if that isn't saying something, then I mean, I don't know what is. Okay, the scene where Ruby is being tested for what color she is, and she's like little 10-year-old Ruby talking to the doctor, and the doctor's like looking at her all suspiciously like, yo, I bet you I already know what your color is. And she's like, no, I'm a green, believe me. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, she's totally an orange. Like I already know she's an orange. I mean, the minute she was like, I'm a green, and then she said it, and the guy was like, oh, you're a green, I know, it's okay, you're a green. I was like, she's an orange. She totally told him to think that she's a green. Like, this is ridiculous. I know she's an orange. And I'm sure all of y'all had the exact same reactions, but if you didn't, I'm just letting you know, it was like that for me. So yeah, that happened. And then, randomly, we just kind of skip after that one scene with Sam, and I felt so bad for her. I felt so bad for Ruby, how Sam just kind of like forgot. And then there were these little snippets like, oh, I can't believe I did it again, blah, blah, blah. It's like, did what again? Like, hurry up and get to the point. These are the feelings that I'm talking about. Like, it was very difficult for me to push through this book because I was sitting there reading it like, okay, this is getting kind of slow. I don't know if I want to keep reading it. This is okay. Okay, something's starting to happen. And then it's like page 115. I was like, whoa, like this is actually really good. So I continued to read it, and then we get to this random chapter where she's already 16, and I was like, what's going on? Like, it went from really slow to really, really fast paced. And that was actually really good for me because if it didn't like pick up on the pace, then I wouldn't have kept reading. And all of a sudden, Ruby's 16. And then there's Kate trying to break her out. I was like, what's going on? Like, in my mind, in the scene where she and Martin were taken by Kate and Rob, and they were in the back of the van, like, I know they're 16, but I'm still sitting there seeing, like, little 10-year-old kids hiding behind the back of a van passenger seat. Like, it was really difficult for me to make that transition from 10 to 16 because it was so fast-paced. But in the middle of the book, I started to like, okay, I'm starting to see it now. She's 16, like I could envision her better, and I think that's what helped me because like it went from like, oh, 10-year-old Ruby, this is so sad, boom, she's escaping. Like my brain couldn't contemplate that. And then I had a feeling Rob was gonna be bad. Like the minute, like you know those feelings you get when characters are introduced and you're like, that guy he sounds a little off. I don't know if I like him very much. That's how I felt about Rob the minute he stepped out of the van. I was like, I don't think he's very good. And I don't think Kate knows it. And of course, Ruby makes contact with Rob, and she sees him shoot the 2 kids, and I was like, well, called it. Okay, the scene where she's running away, I was like, my heart was pumping really fast because that scene was so intense for me. She grabbed her snacks and hightailed it out of there. I was like, well, good for her for knowing what to do. But what you gonna do when you're on the road when you got nothing with you? I mean, they got a car, they got guns, and they got trackers in your jacket that you don't even know about yet. So, like, you're gonna have to get yourself together because Ruby just kind of hightailed it out of there. I never really liked Martin either. Martin was just a weird one. But then we come and we meet Suzumi or Zu, and I thought, oh my gosh, like she's super cute. Like I kind of imagined her like my little sister, only with dark hair. And I loved how she wore her little rubber gloves. I thought that was so cute. And then, you know, we go through the scene where like she hops in the van, and I thought it was super cute, that trusting moment between Suzumi and Ruby. And then there's Chubbs. I cannot tell you how much I hated Chubbs in the beginning. Like, and as bad as that sounds, I hated him. I hated Chubbs so much because he was so sassy. I mean, everything was no, no, no. He was negative Nancy. I mean, he was chummy Chubbs. Like, he was just bad at first. In my mind, I was like, oh my god, like, why is Chubbs talking? This is ridiculous. But then, of course, like, we fall in love with Chubbs, like, towards the end. And then Liam. I shipped Ruby and Liam like the minute he called her darling. I was like, oh, this is too cute. This is too much. But then, you know, and I really loved the building of the bonds like through the car ride. And I love how they named the van Black Betty. Like, that's super cute. And I loved that whole journey. And when Liam was like, oh, I know it's only been 2 weeks, but I feel like I've known you my whole life. I was like, okay, they're gonna be a couple. They're gonna be together. This is gonna be great. And then we get to East River, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I totally imagined East River as like Camp Half-Blood from Percy Jackson series. I don't really know why, because the setup was real different, actually, like, as opposed to, like, in Percy Jackson where there's, like, the different cabins, but that's kind of how I envisioned it, you know, like, the camp feel that it had, like, with the bonfire and everything, and they had the storage rooms and whatever, so I was making that connection, and then I had one of those feelings again when we meet Clancy Gray, okay? I knew that sweet little Clancy, when he was being all flirty and nice with Ruby, I was like, no, he's bad. I don't like him, he's bad. He's gonna try and take Ruby away from Liam, and that is not the ship I have. I don't have Kruby or Rancy, it's Riam. It is Riam all the way, and if Clancy tries to screw this up, I swear I did not like that kid. He sounds very charming, and then all of a sudden you get the scene where he's like penetrating Ruby's mind, trying to make her want him and want her to kiss him, and she doesn't realize it at first, and then she starts to realize it, and I was like, well, it's about freaking time. It's been like 3 chapters he's been doing this to you, and you're just now getting this. And then I absolutely loved when Chubbs was talking about how, why have we been in this camp for so long? Like, we need to get home. Because he was basically the knot that was tying all 3 of them together still, because, you know, Ruby was going off and taking her lessons with Clancy, and then Liam was off patrolling the camp, and Suzumi was out playing with all these friends. And then, of course, there's little Chubbs. This is after I loved Chubbs, by the way. Like, I loved Chubbs during these in particular scenes. Like, halfway through the book, I was like, okay, Chubbs, you and me, we're homies. And then we get that really weird scene where Clancy's like all up in Ruby's business. I was like, why? Like, I do not understand how, I mean, it made me so angry. I was like, I think I literally screamed the word no, like maybe 5 or 6 times during that whole scene where he's like trying to be all aggressive and such. I was like, no, Ruby, fight it, you can do it, just fight it. And she couldn't for a little while. And it was just awkward to read because I wanted to punch Clancy for her and she couldn't do anything about it. So now that we've basically established that Clancy is bad, I mean, what else could go wrong? You know, we find out that Clancy has a crush on Ruby and then it turns sour. Okay, so what? Well, the whole so what part comes in and now there's people attacking the camp. Like, what? Come on now. All of these PSFs come and like shoot down the camp and Ruby's freaking out because it's like, oh my god, it's like Thurmond all over again. And I guess it kind of was, but it kind of wasn't. It was actually kind of scary. I was like, my heart was racing during that scene. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat. Like, it was pretty intense. And then the ending came. Miss Bracken, Miss Alexandra Bracken, crushed my heart. The last 15 or so pages of the book, I just wanted to break down and cry. I was so upset and I was freaking out, and Chubbs, Liam, and Ruby escape the whole situation that they had, and they're basically back on the road just trying to find shelter, like trying to find another safe house because everyone's left. Like everyone's just bailed or was taken, unfortunately. They stop because Chubbs wants to deliver his letter. And when Chubbs goes up to the door, the guy that opens the door freaking shoots him. Like, pulls out the shotgun and shoots him. I was like, oh my, like, I had to put down the book. I was like, did I just read that right? I mean, why did Chubbs get shot? Like, honestly, I would think, like, that was a great job by Alexandra Bracken to throw in that really intense plot twist, because if anyone was going to get shot, I was thinking it was going to be either Liam or Ruby. And then there was going to be that intense, like, romantic quarrel between, oh no, my loved one's going to die. But it was Chubbs, and that, I think, made the situation even worse. And then, because Ruby's freaking out because Chubbs is laying there with, like, a bullet in his chest, Ruby presses her panic button that she's been carrying the entire time, and Kate and Rob show up, and they are taken back to HQ of the League while Chubbs is taken to a hospital. And I was just sitting there the entire time like, oh my gosh, like, this is intense. Like, this is crazy. I can't believe what's going on in this book. And then we get the terribly dramatic, saddening scene where Ruby erases herself from Liam's memory. Ah! That was how I felt during that scene. There was the biggest build-up to her erasing her memories. Like, I kind of felt like she was gonna do it for a while, but I never actually thought that she would go through with it. And then she did. But it was like 5 or 6 pages where she was like, man, I can't believe what I'm about to do. Oh, he's going to hate me. Chubbs will never forgive me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there reading it like, no, don't do it. Don't do this. Like, this is bad. Don't do that. Don't do that. Why would you know? And then she just goes ahead and erases herself. And, oh my gosh. I was so sad, you guys. I was so sad. That was literally the biggest cliffhanger Alexandra Bracken could have left for us. It was a beautiful cliffhanger, but it was also so upsetting that I couldn't pick up the second book. I was determined that the minute I ended this book, because it was so good, I was going to pick up the second book. And because of that cliffhanger at the end, because it was so... I was so distraught at the end of that book that I had to put it down and was like, I didn't pick up the second book for like a week. Or not a week, but a couple of days. I couldn't pick it up for a couple of days. I was just shocked. And now I'm currently reading Never Fade, and all of the little ties that were in this book are starting to, like, you know, starting to tie themselves together, and it's starting to all make sense. So overall, I think this book was amazing. It was great. The writing in here was amazing. The storyline is amazing. Just, this book is great. Alexandra Bracken is a great author, and if you haven't read the second one or the third one or any of the novellas, actually, go ahead and pick those up, because I started the second one and I think I read through I read through the first novella, and it was actually really good. So those are my thoughts and opinions on The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos about books or bookish things, please subscribe to this channel. You can leave comments in the comment box below about what you thought about this book and how you are going to go about reading the next series if you are. You can also talk about what books you think I should make book talks about. If you haven't read this book, please go and pick it up. I know you're gonna love it. It's amazing. It's got a great mixture of thrills and just a small bit of sci-fi and fantasy with enough reality to mix it up and make it a fantasy book. This book was great. So that's all I have for you today, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!